Alrighty, going live in three, two, one. Well, this is Olivia on Air, episode number 9. I'm actually surprised. Wow, the number 9. We're really getting up there in those episodes now. I was thinking I didn't even know we were that high. How are you doing, Olivia?
Doing super well. How are you?
I'm doing okay. It's super well, huh? That's a different way of saying things. Is there something going on that's making you feel super well?
Well, yesterday I got new makeup in the mail, which is always super fun. Um and it was like pink eyeshadow and stuff, which I'm pretty excited about. Like not like super pink, kind of pinkish tannish. A nice good shade. Um and I also put pears on my jeans.
Yeah.
So,
The pant I can bring up the pictures of your pants from last week if you'd like to show those.
okay, the fruit pants. Just imagine some light green pears on them.
Give me a second here while I bring. Go ahead and describe that while I find the pictures here. It might take me a second.
I've got strawberries on them, lemons, grapes, and now pears. I have to put the stems on the pears, but we're, reaching the home stretch. I thought the pears would take up more room than they do, so I'm going to have to add more fruit, possibly oranges. I don't love oranges, but I guess I don't eat lemons, either. So oranges are valid. Another citrus fruit could be good. Um, I don't want to do mangoes because they're the same shape as pears, sort of, and so are avocados. And well, yeah, avocados are a fruit because they have a pit, a seed. So
Yeah. I was gonna say I'm about to bring up the image right now so everyone can take a look. This is the one we had from last week. So
yeah, the strawberries are fully formed now. They have seeds and little green stems on them, and now there's like light green pears all over. So just use your imagination and put those in, and then that's basically it.
so
The idea of them.
the big question for me is, have you worn these yet since you've done this?
No, I want to protect them. I'm good at getting messy, and until I finish, I want to keep them nice and clean. Plus, I have to heat set the fabric paint. So
Heat set. What do you mean by that exactly?
gotta iron over them. So I have to put. I think I'm gonna have to put. It's gonna be a really annoying process probably because I'm gonna have to put a layer of parchment paper because that's heat resistant. I'm gonna have to put or maybe wax paper. I don't know. Parchment paper on the on the surface of like the table, and then I'm gonna have to put the jeans, and then I'm gonna have to put a parchment paper in between the jeans, like whatever section I'm ironing, so that the paint doesn't go through the pants and go to the other side, and then they get stuck together. I would like to avoid that, and then I have to put another layer on top, and then I gotta iron it. So just
It's
kind of that's
it's like
gonna be the really boring part.
is it like a protection thing? I guess is that what you're, like exact? Is that well? I'm trying to envision what you're saying there to figure out how that the the iron. I guess I'm missing something there, and I apologize for that. Is are the ironing is basically? I'm sorry. Is it a protection? I'm sorry. You'll have to give
It's
it.
okay. So the heat from the iron will set the paint into the fabric.
Okay.
It some sort of maybe chemical process or something. I don't know. Um, and basically, I'm gonna be taking the parchment paper off after, but
Okay.
I have to put, and parchment paper is used for cooking, um, so that the food doesn't stick to the pan that you're using. So
Mhm.
it's heat resistant. It won't catch on fire if I use an iron on it. And it also won't stick to the paint when I peel it off because it's like kind of a waxy coating sort of thing.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna have to put that like on the pants on just like one section, I guess. It doesn't have to be the whole pant, but on one section while I'm ironing, and then take it off, like wait for it to cool, take it off, and then put it on another section, do the iron thing again. Yeah. So
that sounds like a long process. Now, as far as after that, where are you going to wear them? Is that
yes, I
okay?
will be wearing them. I'll take pictures in them, and then I am very hesitant to wash them, but
I
it has
bet.
to be done, you know?
Yeah, but then we discussed that about jeans don't need to be washed. But I just I have a feeling that it's gonna. I don't know. I don't know how well the paint is going to be absorbed. You know, with the heat and everything. You know, with the
Yeah,
if it's going to ruin it. I don't know. I wouldn't want to see your artwork destroyed there. That's what I'm.
right.
All that hard
Maybe
work.
hand washing. Maybe I might, because if I would do it in the washer, I would do I would do cold so that the heat from the thing the washer doesn't get it. But maybe I just put them in my bathtub and hand wash them with cold water and some detergent,
That's
and
a good
then
idea.
like hang dry them.
I went to my grandmother's house many years ago, and spent like 2 weeks there, and it was just me and my grandparents, and she did the laundry one time, and if she were to wash your clothes, she would ruin your artwork. She used homemade um, detergent, and this stuff was not color safe at all. And I had one of my favorite shirts that had a decal on the front that had a little imprint on it, and I let her wash it, and when it came out, it was completely faded, and there was no color left at all. So,
Oh no.
and she had the washing machine she used was like it was really I was so old fashioned that there was no lid. It was just a barrel, and
Oh,
you could actually see the clothing circle around. There was no lid. It was just a barrel, and then after you were done, there was like a roller, two pinch rollers. You had to roll the clothes through the roller.
oh, isn't that machine? It was like, was it big? And it was like these two kind of like big metal tubes that squeezed all the water out.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Those got kids' arms in like the when they were first invented, people didn't know a lot about them. I watched like a this British documentary channel about it, and they were mentioning those, and they were like, yeah, kids used to get their arms stuck in there, and then they would have like their arm just obliterated.
Oh my God. Really? Oh,
Yeah, so I
wow.
guess yeah, that's really interesting, kind of
Uh,
scary.
Let me see if I
Glad we
can.
have dryers now.
This is I found some pictures on the internet here. I think I found something that's kind of similar. It looks kind of like, let's see, like this maybe. Yeah, kind of like this a little bit. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Uh, I'd never seen anything like that when I was a kid. We had regular looking washers when I was growing up, so this was really alien looking to me. So, and you can see like it looked more like that first one, like this one, where I guess it's the same. I guess it is the same there. But yeah, the clothing would go through there. I could definitely see kids' arms getting pulled. Is that what you were talking about? Kids' arms getting pulled into this thing?
Yeah, I guess in the and that's like a I think that's a variation from the ones from the Edwardian and Victorian eras where they were much bigger, but those are yeah, that's the same idea.
Okay, so yours, the one you were talking about, is probably a little bit bigger than what I was talking about, but the same general
Maybe.
concept. So
Yeah, same
yeah,
idea, definitely.
yeah. My grandparents were definitely they held on to things forever, so they never bought anything modern unless they absolutely had to. So
Thrifty.
yes, very much so. Okay, let me bring that over here. Um, so are you when what? How long do you think that it'll take till you're finished?
Um, gotta add more fruit because I want them to look kind of like as insane and colorful as possible. So maybe another week or two. I'm taking my time. I want everything to be just right.
Okay, I thought it was going to take longer than that. Okay, so we
Oh
may.
yeah, no. I think I can finish a fruit. If I'm determined, I can finish a fruit group in like 2 days.
Oh,
And the
oh,
week or two is just allowance for me being lazy.
let me bring up your other picture here. Of course, this one's a little. It is huge. This is a uh, very large image here. Let me string it down just a little bit. 1 second here. Go 20% should be good. There we go. I think that's good. So, the is when you're done with this, as far as like, is there going to be more of these, or are you going to? How are you going to proceed after that?
I'll see how everything works for me, like with washing them and everything. I want to do a wear test and see if they're. I don't think they would be uncomfortable, but just in case they are, I want to see. And then I think my mom wants a pair of shorts with lemons on them. So I'm gonna fulfill that wish. And then my best friend really likes them, so she also kind of wants a pair of shorts. And she's like 5 feet tall, so that'll be pretty easy because those shorts will be small.
Hmm,
Be like
okay.
doing kids shorts, really.
The
So
now, as far as like any other article, maybe we would discuss this. I don't know. Like, would you ever consider doing shirts as well?
that would be a lot easier. I feel like shirts wouldn't need as many coats of paint. So a shirt would be cool. I know. I think I want to get like a neutral colored, just like a button down T-shirt or long sleeve tee, I guess. I saw one from H&M that looked good, and I think the neutral shirt and the crazy pants will complement each other nicely.
Would you would you contrast? I mean, you're an artist, so I'm sure you know about making things match or at
Yeah.
least mix and match. Would it be the same? I assume it'd be my thought would be different colors. Am I correct on that, or would you use the same colors?
For a shirt?
Yeah, I mean, as far as how would that work? I would think would a contrast look kind of, I don't know how that would work exactly. How would you do that?
Well, I don't think I would personally wear a shirt with the same pattern with these pants
Mhm.
just because that's a lot of work to make a shirt with these this pattern and the pants just for me, you know?
Yeah.
Um but I guess if I were to make one, I would probably do like the same pattern, same shapes and colors and everything. But another issue is I don't have like I mixed these colors and then I washed out the jars when I was finished. So I don't have the same exact colors that
Oh,
I did for
oh,
these. I mean,
interesting.
like with other people's clothes, it's not going to be that big of a deal because I can make similar ones. But if it was on the same outfit, it would look slightly different and people would like I feel like you would be able to notice if you looked close enough and I don't that would bother me personally, so
How about shoes? I didn't even think about that.
that would be fun.
I
I would
was
need it depends on the shoes. Like Vans, white Vans would be the easiest.
I was
But
thinking
with like
I was thinking
air
more that
hmm?
like women's shoes like this, like Keds. They were so
Yeah, I used to wear Keds, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, white Vans, white Keds, stuff like that. But with like sneakers, like leather Air Force One sneakers, I would need shoe paint. There's specific leather shoe paint. And that's more expensive. I don't want to do that.
Oh, wait, you need shoe paint? I've never heard of shoe paint. What's that?
Shoe paint, so you can't use acrylic. You could, but it won't stay. Acrylic on shoes wouldn't really stay. Sharpie doesn't really stay on leather. Um, Most of the time, just like for like long term wear, like shoes and stuff. Um, for I've painted shoes before. I painted like Air Force One knockoffs because I'm not gonna pay $90 to possibly ruin a pair of shoes. But I didn't. But I got some pink paint. It's the brand is I think it's Angelus. Angelus, Angelus. If anyone was, looking for shoe paint, it's leather. It's leather, technically leather paint, but most people use it for shoes and like boots and stuff like that, or like leather jackets or something, where you have to use rubbing alcohol, and kind of take off the like the top layer of the shoe protection, I guess, the leather protection, and then you can paint on the white leather surface
Well,
with the
it
shoe
doesn't.
paint.
You could get shoes that match the color of your jeans there too, I guess, if you wanted to, or something more like.
Technically, I could, but it would probably be expensive to match all the colors.
Oh, that's true. That's true. But as far as like what I was really leading up to is, it doesn't have to be white, is what I'm saying. So
Right, yeah. I was thinking a tan shirt. I think that would be nice.
I guess what other articles of clothing are there? Like socks, jackets, pieces, something you'd wear in your hair, maybe. I'm trying to.
Maybe. Maybe like a paper mache strawberry or something as like a hair clip.
Oh, okay. The coats. Would you do a coat? I don't know how you do a coat or a jacket, maybe, or maybe like a jean jacket would work. You could do something
Jean
like
jacket would work. That
the
would also the issue would be the color matching though.
we. I told you about my jean jacket when I was a kid, right? Did I tell you that?
Yeah.
Okay, okay, go ahead. The
So yeah.
okay. Well, I'm sure I definitely want to see this when it's done, and I'd like to see you model it off in some way so we can see what. So
Okay.
the
Okay.
well, let's take. Well, did you want to look at our question from last week to see what our response is?
Yes.
Let me bring it up here. A second. Up there it is, right there. So, if you could be anywhere right now, where would you be? So we got 3,000 votes, I think. I'm trying to read that. It looks like we got your choice, 67%. Oh, and that's probably why there's so many responses. 72 responses on this, which was pretty cool. Next one down is 12% with another planet. After that, we got a big city with 10%. The French countryside was 7%. In the middle of the ocean at 5%. So let me see what these
Yeah,
new.
that was a lot of responses. Thanks everyone.
Yeah. The let's see what we got here. Some of these are in different languages. I think this might just be garbage. I say it because I've seen this before where it's just like the same character repeated over and over again. It turns out to be just gibberish. So if it isn't, I apologize. Let's see. Let's see. I can't read that one. So I'll have to skip that. If I can go where I want to on a big city, which has no pollution, no discrimination, and no corruption, there I would got uh, and there I should got the required things for me. Okay. I don't think you're gonna find. Sorry, I don't think you're gonna find a city like that. Unfortunately, it'd be nice, but I don't think you're gonna find a city with all that. It would be very nice if you could, though. If you do, send me a message because I like to go there myself. So
Definitely. Maybe Atlantis under the water?
Atlantis, the that would also I guess go with, kind of along with the middle of the ocean in a sense. San Andreas, of course. I expected to see that. Money. Hmm. I'm not sure. Money. Okay. In heaven, where my cat is.
Oh, so sorry.
Yeah. My cats died in 2019. So the cats that you see on my avatar only are less than 2 years old. So they're my newer cats. So, and I can relate to this in some ways. So,
Yeah.
I would gone to Canada. Canada in heaven. Heaven. Lots of. What, did we ask heaven?
Nope.
No. That's interesting. A lot of heaven responses here. I am in my farmhouse. That's
That's
interesting.
nice.
Let's see where my crush is, or in a house that is secluded, with all the things I need. I've been to, I've been to a place that reminds me being secluded. I was only a kid when I did this. When I went with my parents, it was very secluded. It was a place called Eaglesmere, Pennsylvania, and it's north of Allentown, west of Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. It's kind of west of New York City, and it was extremely secluded. I mean, it was like way out in the middle of nowhere, and it was out in the middle of the mountains. And if you want to go there, they had a hotel, and they really for something that's out in the middle of nowhere, the hotel prices are ridiculously high. It's like a tourist trap of sorts, I guess you could say, because people want to get away and they want to go there and get away from the cities and all that stuff, and they know that they can charge an arm and a leg for it. But we spent like one day there, and it wasn't very, like, I was only like 12 years old, I think, at the time, and it was definitely out in the middle of nowhere, very very secluded. If you got the money and you want to go out, I would recommend going there. But last time I checked, it was something like $2,000 for a weekend or something. It was like ridiculously high. So,
That's
but
insane.
and especially since it's out in the middle of nowhere like that, you expect it to be more like maybe $20 a night or something. So
Yeah. The problem with places in the middle of nowhere, it's like I like the part where it's like you're not around people and there's like probably well what when I think of it, it's like maybe a house in the middle of the woods. It's nice in the middle of the woods in the daytime you can hike, but the problem is the paranoia of like what is out there at night. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I kind of believe in ghosts and spirits, so I don't know. Some spooky places out in the middle of the woods. That's the only problem for me.
Well, I my house right now that I've bought it 17 years ago, so I've lived here for a little while. Is was until a year and a half ago, basically in the middle of the woods. They wiped out a large, like several acres a year and a half ago, which really made me angry. So, um, but up until then, I would be very scared to go in the woods because of two reasons. One, because of the ticks. There are lots of ticks where I live, and there are a lot of deer, and deer ticks have disease.
Yeah.
The other thing is that there are hunters in the woods where I live, and you can hear guns going off every once in a while. Even though they cleared away a large section of the forest, I actually heard gunshots today. So,
Yeah, I mean, like, I imagine because I remember when we lived in Maryland, the amount of times that deer would jump out in front of our car was insane. I mean, we've like that's like an actual major problem, and I didn't know it wasn't a problem like everywhere, but getting or like hitting a deer with your car is like a genuine issue
mhm.
in the Northeast, and with the ticks and everything that brings an issue for people who like hike with dogs, which we definitely did that a lot. Luckily, nothing ever happened, but and then the hunter thing, I definitely understand that too. The dog park that we used to go to in Maryland was apparently close to a hunting range because every now and then you would hear gunshots, especially in deer season. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
They talk about the gunshots though. One of the hunters, this was about maybe 8 years ago. I heard the shots getting louder and louder. And next thing I know, I saw the hunter actually walk up to the edge of my property,
Oh.
and then he walked away. He realized he was too close. So
That's
the
good.
but yeah, they were definitely getting pretty loud that day. That was the loudest I ever heard them. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, talking about the deer, I the closest I ever came, I was in Manassas, Virginia, driving near the Manassas battlefield for the Civil War battlefield, and I was using a road that I considered to be a shortcut. It was a gravel road that ran behind the battlefield, and a whole bunch of deer ran right in front of my car, and I swore I was going to hit the one of the deer, and I slammed on the brakes, and nothing. No, I did not touch any of the deer, but I really felt I was going to smash up the front of my car with that, but fortunately I
That's
didn't.
so lucky.
I was very fortunate. The deer was fortunate as well because I don't want to see the deer get hurt either. So,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just like our car was unlucky or something, but it happened like 5 times.
oh my goodness,
Yeah, it was like
wow.
insane. I guess maybe it was like a Maryland, they're a little bit I don't know, crazier, but we went on like the back roads a bit more just because, you know, it was easier than 270. 270 is insane, you know.
Hmm.
Or is it 275? I don't know, the highway that's like
Yes,
always so jammed.
it's 270. You're right. Yeah,
Yeah,
back
that's
road.
so we would go on back roads like anytime, any chance we took. But then the downside of the back roads is the deer.
Then I didn't know there were that. You must, yeah, Maryland must be much more. At least where I'm at, it's no, I don't see them that often. But I do see them enough. I built after they wiped the fence out. I'm sorry, after they wiped the forest out, I built a fence around my property that's 8 feet high, so it goes around the outer edge. So it'd be very hard for a deer to actually get onto my property anymore. So
Yeah, they're
I
real good at jumping, but yeah, that should keep them out.
But I have seen deer run across my property. I've seen a whole bunch of them at one time run across the property next to mine, and but I've never, with as far as pulling out in front of cars, that's not that common of an issue in this area. So I think it's probably because most of the roads are wider, maybe than like the roads you're talking about. It sounds like they're more your roads are probably the ones you were on are probably more rural looking, probably more narrower. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, they were either two car roads, and some of them were single car
Like
roads. So
like a single lane in each direction.
yeah,
Yeah, okay.
So annoying when other people were on the road, but like barely ever happened. I also think it's because maybe there were a few like cornfields around, and maybe they were drawn to the cornfields, so that was probably part of it too.
So when your car when the your car hit the deer, was there like severe damage?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes there wasn't. Sometimes it was just, sadly kind of bloody. But there were a few times where it was. I don't think anything ever happened to the windshield, luckily. But there were a few times when it was, the hood of the car was dented or something.
Hmm.
The grill, I think one time, like the grill was kind of messed up and the bumper came off. So
Oh, that's a pain. That must have
yeah,
been. Yeah.
yeah. Deer they're pretty and adorable, but they also are very dumb and some annoying sometimes. So
That's what I was gonna say. Very dumb.
they are.
I have a couple of cars I've parked in my backyard. I like to collect older cars. Some of them are very very valuable right now. Some of them are very. I need to. I will restore one day. They're built in the most in the '60s and the '70s. And the ones I have a couple of them parked in a concrete area in my backyard. And before I put the fence up, one time a deer went back there, and he or she, I don't know what it was, got scared, and I could see them bumping into my cars. I was like, "Oh, great, that's gonna be." I don't know if they did. I don't think it did any damage. But I'm thinking, "Oh, great, they don't care. Just smack it at everything as far anything else."
I think it's the deer in the headlights thing where it's like instead of I think sometimes for some like honestly some dumber animals they kind of freeze in emergency situations instead of immediately fleeing. So, like, if they're in shock or something, they will just stay where they are, which is why it's so easy to, hit a deer with your car because they will stay, where they are. Same thing with like squirrels and stuff. They'll just like freeze instead of doing anything because their brain is like short circuiting or something. I don't know. I saw it on like a PBS Kids animal show. I love those things. But yeah, um, and so I think that's why it's so they're just not that smart.
No. I do. You talk about the squirrel. I felt really bad one time. I was going to work, and I was driving through a back neighborhood to get to where I worked, and a squirrel ran in front of my car, and I couldn't stop. There was no way for me to stop. He just ran right in front of the car, and tried to swerve and slow down, but I hit him anyway. And I didn't want to hurt the little guy. But
Yeah.
when I got out, I could see that I paralyzed him from the waist down. His front legs were still working, but his back legs were not.
Oh no.
It was like felt so sad for him. I kind of wish at that point. I mean, I hate to say that, but maybe if he had died, it probably went a little better for him.
Yeah.
But I felt so
That's
bad. There's nothing I could do. He ran off into the woods. I couldn't do anything for him. But so he probably died shortly after that. I don't know. But it was pretty sad to see what happened. I don't like to
yeah.
I don't like to see little animals get hurt. So
Neither do I mean who does?
and like I said, I tried. I used to get angry when people would hit animals, but then you realize when you're driving, you can't. There's just no way to stop. Sometimes it's just not possible.
Yeah.
They just run right in front of your car, and you're like, oh, nothing you can do can stop it from happening. So,
Yeah.
and I feel bad. So, well, let's see. Let's get back to the questions here. I went down where I crashed my car. Oh, okay, I got that one. With my crush, I meant my fifth year. I'm not sure what that means. My fifth year. I guess
In
when they're 5 years.
school or age wise?
I'm thinking maybe when they're 5 years old.
Who wouldn't want to go back to when you're 5? Somebody else is in charge of your hair and all your meals and it's just easy.
And then if it was fifth year, sixth grade in high school, I don't know. I don't know what they're saying there. Who knows? That's that. Well, I don't mean to say it like that. But yeah, thanks for the response, though. Sorry. I didn't mean to say it was like it meant nothing. It means something. It does. So, in heaven with my grandpa, another heaven one. To Egypt, Russia. Let's see, Vestdyke in Liberty City. That's Liberty City is a city in Grand Theft Auto. So, a nice, sunny, secluded beach. I've not been to the beach since I was probably 10 years old, maybe my early teens. So,
Interesting.
and I remember going there and getting a lot of salt water in my mouth. It was nasty.
Yeah, I've definitely gulped salt water even as an adult. It's just too easy.
Hmm.
Or
They,
maybe I guess if you're better at swimming, maybe it's it's not so easy, but you know.
so where you're at, are you close to a beach? You're close to a beach, aren't you?
Yeah, red tide is really affecting everything right now. So many dead fish. We haven't tried to go to the beach or anything. I don't really like the beach in Florida, I'm not gonna lie. I thought I would like the warm water, but it's just boring. I grew up in on the West Coast, so I'm used to like numbingly cold water, and surprisingly enough, I like it. I thought that like the default for everyone was like warm water, but I don't. It's boring for me, kind of. And then with the there's no like rocks or anything, and tide pools are like the real reason that I like going to the beach, because I love seeing the microcosm of like the world that's in the tide pool, which is like a rock formation that creates um like when the tide goes out, water kind of pools in the rocks in certain areas, and that's where like snails and little starfish and sometimes even small fish, yes, exactly like that, some sea anemones, stuff like that. That's like so incredibly fascinating for me to look at and just like, poke stuff in the tide pool. Honestly, it's like at the aquarium. If you've been recently, they have the kids zone where you can touch some of the stuff. It's like that, but for free.
Hmm.
And so that's like, and that's all over the West Coast, and that's like of America anyway. And that's my favorite thing to do. I can literally look at tide pools for hours and it'll feel like 30 minutes. It's just like super fun. But there's no tide pools here because there's no rocks, and so it's just boring.
Oh, okay. I was wondering why I'd never seen them before. Okay, I've only been to the West Coast once, and I was out there for like we were there less than a day, and we came back. So I went to Los Angeles on me and my friend drove out there, and we came back. So we went to where the Queen Mary is located in Los Angeles. So that's where we touched the Pacific Ocean and left and came back. So I've never seen these when I've gone to the beaches, and like I've gone to, I think, Ocean City, Virginia Beach, but I've never been. And I think I might have been to the beach in Florida, but I was very young at the time, so I don't really remember it. So,
Yeah.
but well, yeah, I've never seen any of these like here, and that would make sense. That's why I didn't realize. So this is primarily as far as North America goes, it's only primarily on the West Coast, is what you're saying?
I believe it's the West Coast. It's like most of California and Washington State and Oregon, I think. And then I think Maine has some too. So that's the East Coast, but it's like much higher up there where maybe the glaciers, when they, from the Ice Age, maybe they made more rocky shores. I don't know. Um, but yeah,
Okay.
those are
That's
super fun. It's the kind of thing where you gotta go, like on the West Coast, like you kind of have to go with maybe like sweatpants and a t-shirt and roll them up and then walk around because the water's so cold, but it's like worth it. I really like doing that.
so. Are they protected? Are you allowed to walk into them? I'm just curious how that works. Are they? Uh,
Well, like no one is gonna like push you or anything. Like nobody's gonna like get you out of the tide pool if you step into one, but I really wouldn't personally, just because you'd be crushing a bunch of snails and probably you could get stung by something because there's, more poisonous stuff, and possibly a sea urchin could stick you. So I mean, like personally I wouldn't do it just because it's kind of a dumb move, but
mhm.
if you do, nobody's gonna stop you,
Okay,
I
I
guess.
wasn't. Sometimes like there are certain things that are protected by laws to preserve it, so I wasn't sure if there's any protection.
Yeah, some of them like state beaches and stuff like that. There, I'm sure there's like, don't move things around. You can't take, you know, animals from here, stuff like that. But
Mm,
that's mostly about getting caught. Unfortunately, I think it's a good thing that those laws are in place, but um yeah, there's not always someone patrolling. As far as I like from my experience, there's not always someone patrolling around making sure no hooligans get away with anything.
mhm, I get you.
So,
I'd like to see one of those, see what they look like. They look kind of interesting. So,
they are. It's like very much like looking under rocks for bugs. Another favorite activity of mine.
hmm. As long as the bugs don't bite you or sting you.
Yeah.
The bugs around here, I have to do some cleaning once in a while. And I go outside and hose at nighttime. I have to make sure I try to do the cleaning during the daytime. If I go outside at nighttime, I'll walk in with several mosquito bites, and I think it's extremely annoying. Can't stand it.
Yeah, mosquitoes are just they are like the worst, the one animal that I can't get behind. I can't really see the good other than like they feed frogs and bats, but like they could eat flies instead of mosquitoes. Flies are annoying, but they don't steal your blood.
Yeah, well, it would also the two creatures like I like to say I have an acre of land. I like to say that my land is like a little nature preserve for all the little creatures. The only two creatures I don't welcome and I'll kill outright are fleas and ticks. So
Yeah,
those
that makes sense.
ticks the fleas. My house for the first time last year had fleas inside, and I was like really angry. But I actually got rid of them within a month or two, which surprised me because usually they're really hard to get rid of.
Yeah,
But
that's good. But fleas can like live in your house?
yeah,
Oh my god.
yeah,
That
that's so
is
yeah.
so rude. They have all of the outdoors. They don't have to come inside.
Oh yeah, they what happens? They hop on your body, and then you walk inside, and then they find if you have pets like I have my cats, my two cats, and what they'll do is they that's where they they went to my cats and they started to grow and multiply really fast after they found.
Ew.
And I didn't know my cats had I walked into one section of the house where they spend the most time, and they were up in the middle. I had set of boxes in the middle of this room, and for some reason they kept on staying up on top of the boxes. It turns out that the fleas had infested the floor area, so they were up really high trying to avoid the fleas. And
Oh.
I didn't know the fleas were there. And then like a few days later, I noticed I was getting bit on my legs. I was like, I thought they were mosquito bites or something, and then I realized it was fleas. And that's when I started. I took everything that was in that room and just threw it outside. Just whatever was there, I just threw it out. There was some stuff I needed, but it was like it wasn't. I figured it was better to just get rid of it, just to get rid of the fleas than flea eggs, because they will. What happens with fleas is they'll hibernate, and then they can hibernate for like weeks at a time before they come back to life again. And
Ugh, I would have to sell the house.
well, like I fortunately I got rid of them. So I've
That would be my solution.
in the past, when I was a kid, I remember we had fleas when we had cats when I was a kid, and it took us months and just to get rid of the fleas, and they were still there. It was just they wouldn't go away.
Can you
It's
go ahead?
unbelievable. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Can you
it's
like tend a house for fleas, or is that just like
well, yeah, you can call an exterminator. They'll come in, but the problem is they hibernate and hide. So the ones that are hibernating, they're at different stages. Those will be protected from the stuff that comes into any of the insecticide stuff. So they won't be affected by that. But then what happens is they'll come out of their state of whatever that hibernating state is, and then they come back to life, and then they start coming at you again. So
that is horrible.
yeah, it's like you think you got them all, and then they come right back again. It is so annoying. It just doesn't stop. But like I said, I was so happy I got rid of them because it's like I was just giggling almost like a little schoolgirl, so to speak, because they were just gone. It was like because in the past it just took so long to get rid of them, and I couldn't believe I got rid of them in like about 2 months' time, which is unheard of. So
Yeah, that's really good.
the and the cats they were coated with fleas. It was really disgusting. I didn't realize how bad it was.
Ooh,
So, but they're all cleared out now. So the
that's
the
good.
the one thing I found is if you have fleas is a it's called Advantage, I think, and it's a drop you put on the back of their neck. And
Yeah, my parents have been using um Canine Advantage or like Next Guard. I
mhm,
think we've moved on to Next Guard and Heart Guard, which are both oral. Like you give them like they're kind of like treats for protecting against heartworm and fleas and ticks and stuff.
mhm. And yeah, the stuff I haven't tried the stuff you're talking about, but I know the stuff on the back of the neck works extremely well. Any fleas that are on them will die within a day. So
Yeah.
and what the idea is to you clean the house out, spray it all down, and then you put the drops in. You let the cat back in without putting the drops on, so that any remaining fleas will hop on them. Then you put the drops on the back of their neck, and then the ones that are left over will get killed when you do that. So
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, we've been doing that for like forever. Just so our dogs, because like I feel like with cats maybe you don't have to worry as much because maybe they don't go out as much. But with our dogs, we would take them hiking all the time. So we definitely and to the dog park, so you never know who has, less clean dogs or whatever. And so you gotta use the for the heart guard for the heartworm protection, and then the whatever flea and tick protection you have. So
the I've never tried the other stuff, so I assume it probably works right. But unfortunately, it's oral, right? So they have to consume it, like eat it somehow, right? Is that right?
yeah, it's like a little it's a treat. It smells. I think they made it super stinky of like beef basically. It smells like a bacon strip or something.
Oh, so maybe they'll like to eat it then.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, yeah. But
Okay.
my one dog Sammy, he has allergies pretty bad. And so we use just like Zyrtec. It's good for animals. Um, of course, consult your vet before taking that advice. But our vet was like, yeah, it's good for animals. So he'll take a pill, and he likes it because he knows that after he gets a treat.
Oh,
So he's a smarty party. He will take a little medication pill, no problem.
that's a good idea. I know whenever I try to feed my cats something, they're like, no, they would do. A lot of times, you just spit it back out. So,
Cats
and
are smart.
they and annoying too. So, I'm trying to help you, and you're just spitting it back out. So,
Yeah.
let me see here. A nice, sunny, secluded beach. That's where we left off. Wembley Stadium in London, and play football there. Hmm,
Ooh.
never been there. I assume he means football. He means what we would call soccer. I would.
Right.
So, what's the next one? What is that? I'll see. See if I can.
It says Algesia, but I think they might be trying to say Algeria.
Let's see. Let's see. I'll put it up here. Huh. I don't know. Let me put it in a let me put it in a search and see what pops up here. Just see what happens here.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I guess here we go. Yeah. So I guess it's a country. Sorry, pardon my ignorance. I don't know where that is. So
Yeah, me as well. I
let me
did not know there were two countries named very similarly.
let me see here. Comes up here. Uh see, we just take the first one, see where we go here. That shows a city, so I'm not sure where that is. Let's zoom back out. And wait, I'm still not sure where we're at. Still not sure where we're at. Oh, India. Is that where? Oh, okay. India. There we go. Okay. But this one says it says something at the like Nagar, not Nagar. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Sorry. So I'm not sure if it's the same place or not. Might not even be the same place. So okay. L.A. I've been to L.A. once. You said you're on the West Coast. Did you go to L.A.?
Yeah, I think I went when I was like 6, and I'm pretty sure when we went, I feel like maybe people think that the forest fires are a recent development, but not so. When we went, the forest fires were so bad in the area, we were told we had to stay inside the hotel. They were like, you gotta, it's kind of like it was almost like a quarantine. You have to stay inside because the smoke is so bad, it's dangerous to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
So LA's just always been on fire, I guess. Or
Yeah.
maybe in the past 20 years, I don't know.
Yeah, there's like a season for it as well, I believe, because
Yeah.
I have some affiliates that are just outside of LA in the Mojave Desert where I do traffic reports for, and every once in a while I report about the smoke that's coming through. So, uh,
Yeah.
it seems
Air
like
quality is not good.
no, especially in LA. Let's see, Miami City, Florida. I don't know if I've been there. I think as close as I've been is Orlando. I was only 3 years old though, so in my wifey's arms. Oh, that was nice. in Mad Dog's mansion. That's a Mad Dog is a character from Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Uh, Salman Khan's house. Who's that? My-
Not sure.
I'll let that one go. See, I would like to go to Los Angeles, California, the city of the angels. There's another LA and 5 responses. I won't go through all those though. Whatever the hell Donald Love went after GTA 3. Hmm. Well, I'm not sure Donald Love is. It might be a character I'm not familiar with the game. Sorry, I should know that, but I don't. Um, uh, I'm in the process of uploading Grand Theft Auto 3 videos right now. So I played the game once back in 2006, and so I'm uploading fresh videos right now of that same game. So maybe it's something I haven't encountered yet. So I'm not sure. Uh,
Right.
Neptune, Mars. Let's see. Is that campaign something? Looks like a maybe French. Let's see. Sard something. Sorry, Sardegna, Dagna. Uh, okay, Kiss Fest. I'm gonna skip past that one too. I'm not sure. Kevin from Kiss Best fan. He responds on almost every one of these. Go to Jurassic World. Uh, the somewhere in Austria. Never been to Europe. I did have a friend, kind of a friend. He came from the other side of the wall before it came down. So he actually escaped before the wall came down from the other side of the when the Soviet Union was still in place. So he told me about how the cars over there were really crappy and everything. So
That's
I'm
cool.
not sure if Austria was part of that. I think they were on the other side of the wall at the time. I'm not sure, but this one is he's leaving. He's mentioning all the cities in Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. It looks like so. I'm gonna go through those. Not sure what that says. Somewhere alone. Interesting. So if you were alone, I mean, I guess if you were just anywhere but alone, you could be happy. I guess. Uh, Canada. I want to go to Justin Bieber's house because I love him so much. Let's see. I'm not New Zealand. I can't pronounce the city though. Sorry. Done. I won't try. I want to go to GTA 5 Los Santos, which is there's a reason why I said GTA 5 because there's Los Santos in Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, and then there's Los Santos from GTA 5, which technically sounds like the same city, but they're completely different. Well, they're similar, but they're not this. They're not. They're different cities, different maps. So I want to go to Greece. Isn't Greece right now suffering? Weren't they like having some sort of economic problem? Like
I'm not up to date on Greece news personally, so
that
I'm
was
not sure,
that
but
was a
maybe.
that was a few years ago. I'm not saying anything bad about Greece, but I would be afraid because of financial reasons. Other than that, it'd probably be a pretty cool place to go. So, um, I wouldn't want to live there if there's a financial problem either. That's the only thing. I wouldn't
Right.
mind visiting though. So, Vice City, Vice City, Florida. Vice City is one of the cities in the Grand Theft Auto universe. Syria. I had a friend from Syria. Told me when he grew up that it was very commonplace to hear gunshots go by him on a regular basis. So very
That's
violent place.
sad.
Yeah. He was the same age as me, and he came over to the United States. We were working at the same place, and he'd tell me all these stories about how very violent, very very violent. So he was a nice guy though. He was not violent at all. He was the exact opposite. I think he was drafted into the military and all this, and I guess he wanted to get away from it. That's why he came to the United States. So, you may see, you may be a dreamer, but not the way. But I'm not the only one. John Lennon. Okay. Sandeep says in the countryside of India. Countrysides of India. Interesting. London, New York. I'd rather go to another New York right after there. Tokyo or heaven. Oh, that's an interesting idea. Tokyo or heaven. Hmm. Uh,
Tokyo sounds really cool.
I heard that I don't know if this is true that in Japan they don't have street names. I don't know if that's true or not. So I don't know how they get around in traffic wise, or know the names or how you give directions or something. So
Maybe numbers?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that's true either. I used to do traffic reports for this one company, and this guy came in and he was talking about how Japan doesn't have street names, and maybe he was just full of it. I don't know. But I'm gonna skip past the next one. That one's a little too. Yeah, we'll skip past that. Heaven, Canada, and a cabin in the middle of the forest, but with electricity, internet, and that stuff. That's kind of like the other one. The Tokyo again, your choice. Grove Street, Ganton, San Andreas. Grove Street again, Vice City, and Los Santos. So lots of San Andreas responses.
Definitely. Thank you, everyone, for the responses.
Yes. And as far as the responses, how do you feel about these?
That's probably like it's not like what I expected, as in like I thought everyone would have those answers, but it's definitely what I expected, as in like I expected everyone to have a different answer, you know?
Hmm. It looks
Few
like some.
similar ones like the big cities and stuff like that, but yeah.
It looks like some of them seem to be copying the other ones. It was hard. Like there'd be like heaven a couple of times in a row, so maybe they're just copying themselves, like the person above them.
Yeah, maybe they're depressed, though. That's
Yeah.
fair.
So, all right. Well, do you have a question for our viewers for this week?
Yes. I think we wanted to ask um uh whether or not anyone uses, or like, hold on, wait, how did I phrase it? I think it was, is film photography a hobby of yours?
Film. Do you want to put the word film in there or just photography?
Yeah. Yeah, photography.
Okay.
Is photography a hobby of yours?
A hobby of yours. Oops. I misspelled it already. There we go. Okay. Did you want to add anything to that?
I don't think so. I think that encompasses everything. Or we could maybe I guess, yeah, in the answers we could put like film or digital. We could do yes,
Okay.
no, yes, but only film.
You want to put the yes but only film right here instead?
Yeah.
Okay. Only film. Okay. And we'll put
And then like yes, but only digital or something. And I
okay.
guess only would maybe be like mostly. Like, yeah.
Only, or mostly. You want to put mostly, or let's see. How would that sound? But mostly digital. Hmm.
It's all right. It's all right how it is.
Okay. Okay. And no, we'll put no at the bottom. And did you have one more
I don't have any more.
about maybe I don't care? The usual I don't care
Yeah.
response. Okay. But only film. Let's see. Does anyone even use film anymore? That's a good question. So we're going to discuss that tonight anyway. But does that answer seem right? Um, I guess so. I guess when they read through it, they'll see that there's another answer that says digital, and they'll figure out what that means. So, because
Yeah.
sometimes when people use a term, they'll think film, and they'll say, "What do you mean?" Of course, it has film, but they actually are thinking digital in their head. So, um,
Right.
but yeah, I think that'll work out. Okay, is photography a hobby of yours? Yes. Um, maybe we could add. How about something to the effect that I it's not only it's not a hobby but a profession. Like I'm a professional photographer or something like
Oh
that.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay, let me take that one out. Um, I'm how would I say I'm a professional photographer? Does that sound good? Like
Yeah.
that? Yeah, that covers my dad because my dad was a professional photographer for years. So
Oh nice.
yeah, he was when I was a kid, he would take me to different football games, basketball games, and he would also he went to the Redskins games, and he went. I wasn't allowed to go to the Redskins games because apparently he kept on saying the kids weren't allowed. I believe he was being honest on that one because he would take me everywhere else except for the Redskins games. So and
Interesting.
and he would take other after he got out of that, he would take pictures for historical societies of the area. Like, you go through different parts of Arlington, Virginia, and take pictures and then donate them to the historical societies, things like that.
That's cool.
So do you like that? Does it look good?
Yep.
Okay, I'll go ahead and post it there. Okay, cool. We can come back to that. So that leads up to our topic for this evening, or morning or afternoon, wherever you're located. Would you like to Introduce that?
Film photography. So, I we got some storage boxes out of storage, and they were filled with film pictures because we want to start organizing the pictures that my mother took, because she's taken a lot of film pictures in her life so far, and they're mostly developed. Some of them aren't. Some She has some like film canisters left, so that'll be exciting. But yeah, that'll it just like piqued my interest. I think it's really interesting, and if it was cheaper to develop film, I would definitely want to do it more often. But it is like kind of expensive unless you want to go to CVS. But I don't like CVS or Walmart or any of those places for film developing because they're crappy and they don't really give you negatives or anything like that. So,
Oh, they don't. That's interesting. I took some pictures before digital cameras became popular. I took it to like a local drugstore. It might have been a CVS, but I will say the even though they gave me a CD instead of negatives of the pictures I took, which was kind of interesting. Now CD doesn't work anymore, unfortunately, but I took some pictures of the of certain I think it was the Rock Creek Parkway in DC. I forget what they were exactly, but um, I didn't even realize they were still developing photographs. You say it's expensive. I assume it is because probably no one even does it that much anymore.
it's a major art form for, I think it's just like it's kind of concentrated in the art world, but it is like a huge art form, and it was very trendy for a while. I think in the early 2010s it was super trendy to have Polaroid cameras and take film pictures. And I think it's kind of the newer generation, even though we have the digital pictures and like the phones that like we can readily use, it's like I don't know if it's gonna make sense, but when I like digital pictures, just they don't feel the same when you're looking at them as developed film pictures do. I don't know why, but it's like maybe it's like the fact that you can't just pull up your phone and look at a picture at any time with a film picture, or maybe it's like you don't know what it looks like right after you take it. You have to wait that period of time. I don't know. It's just different.
There's
I
also
think it's more special.
there's also the digital aspect. I used to teach this when I was in school. When I was teaching classes, but I taught audio, not video. But it's a similar thing. The When you have audio that's digitally recorded versus analog recorded, the quality of the video of the audio is actually lesser than analog recording. So you have more warmth to the audio if it's recorded, say on an old style tape versus a digital recording, because digital is like a series of blocks, and so you have this rigid kind of feeling. So what happens is the warmth is lost with the audio recording. It's the same. There's the same aspect when it comes to video as well, because it's all digital. It's all a bunch of blocks and pixels. So what you're doing is you're losing some of the warmth of the image. So
Right. That makes sense. Yeah. It's like the small imperfections in how the photo was taken or developed kind of make it more personal, and I think more special when you look at them. So, and it's the same kind of thing with like music, where sometimes, not all the time, and I don't want to bash autotune, and I think we've talked about this, but sometimes when you use autotune a little too much and you take out all the imperfections, this song is it just kind of becomes bland, and like in my ears, it just kind of becomes bland and boring, whereas when you can hear the imperfections in the singer's voice or the guitar or whatever. It's more endearing, and I don't know, it's just a better listen to me personally.
Hmm. Now, I know you like the older music. How are you familiar with the Grateful Dead?
Yes.
I think we talked about. Did we talk about the Grateful Dead? I know we talked about other groups. I'm not sure if we talked about them.
I don't know
Um,
if we talked about the Grateful Dead.
I know that the Grateful Dead were very adamant that their songs only be recorded on tape, not digital. None of their songs were recorded on digital. So, and they were very adamant because they wanted to have anything. They didn't want to have that. Didn't want to lose that warmth or any of the other things that would be associated with digital recordings. So,
Yeah, that makes
um,
sense.
they would use very high speed tapes. We're talking like 30 inches per second, which is very high quality, and they would use a lot of noise reduction to get rid of the hiss. So, but and the only time you would ever see one of their songs on digital is if it was released. The final version was the master was mixed down onto a CD or something, but the original recordings were actually still done on tape. So,
That's really cool. Yeah.
and I think Jerry Garcia was one of the ones who was very adamant. I made some. I think he's gone. I think he passed on. I think he's been dead for a while, but he was one of the ones who's very adamant about that. So it's similar. There's a lot of similarities between what we're talking about between photography and audio. So that's why I bring that up. So
Yeah. Okay. So, um, on to the like a little bit of the background. So I used, by the way, if anyone's listening to this, don't use any of this as like a source or anything, because I got all this information in a few days from like Britannica, and I didn't use Wikipedia, but I used Britannica. I think the Met Museum, I think the Boston Museum of Fine Arts, and a few other museums like that. So, according to Britannica, the parent of the camera is the camera obscura. Quote, a dark chamber or room with a hole, later a lens, in one wall, through which images of objects outside the room were projected on the opposite wall. The principle was probably known to the Chinese and to the ancient Greeks, such as Aristotle, more than 2,000 years ago. End quote. So, that's like the background, like the first,
hmm,
I don't want to say camera, but like sort of the first.
that's interesting. I didn't know that there was so what. So back how long ago? That was the Greek. You said the Greeks that had that.
Yeah, 2,000 years ago. I think I learned in art class, I think what they would do, because I've taken a few photography classes, but that was in high school. But we learned about this, and I think what they would do is they would be in the room with they would literally like build a room specifically for this sort of thing where they would just have a hole in a wall, and then I think what they would do is they would put a canvas up, or they would draw directly on the wall and then trace the image,
Oh, I see. Okay,
and
I
they would
see.
have to do it kind of quick because the
Yeah,
sun would move,
I
so
was gonna say, yeah. Yeah, so it's like looking at the pictures like from similar like from the American Civil War where they'd have to leave the lens open for like 3 seconds or so to catch the image, and someone on a horse, they couldn't keep their horse still, so you'd see them all blurry because they couldn't stay perfectly still. So
yeah. Okay. And then to continue this little background, iterations of the camera obscura were experimented with through the years until Joseph Nicephore Niepce. I'm butchering the name so bad, it's French. I'm so sorry that I'm American. Invented heliography and took the oldest, or at least oldest, surviving photograph in either 1826 or 1827. The shot was taken from an upstairs window at Joseph's estate in Burgundy, France.
hmm,
So, and then I think I sent you like the I'm reading off of a script. And so
okay,
I sent you that and then also the pictures just so I don't get any information wrong.
okay. I got. Do you want me to bring this up here? The what you sent me? I have it ready to go if you want to look at it.
Yeah. There's
Okay,
the pictures in there.
okay. Bring it
And
up
then
here.
hopefully you can click or zoom. So yeah, that one right there,
That's
the
the
first one is the first photograph,
or at least
and
the
it's of
oldest.
his estate.
or the like it says, or at least the oldest surviving photograph anyway. So
Yeah.
technically might not be the first one, but it's the oldest one that's surviving at least, at the very least, is what they're saying.
Yeah.
So interesting. I wonder what the very first photograph would have been. So
It was probably this one because I think he invented um, this method
oh,
of taking the photo, or I think he was just experimenting. So a lot of people were experimenting with different ways to take an image, but I think his was kind of he like kind of nailed it with this picture. But it also might be, yeah, other people might have done it before and then the images were just lost. So, yeah.
yeah. That's the interesting thing is that must have been really astounding looking, considering that that before that you never had anything like that. It must have been really cool to see something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Something
mean,
that no one painted or anything.
right. And you're, even though it's, nowadays it would look like, oh, it's like it's nothing, but no, it's like, to have something you've never ever seen before, that would be really cool for the first time to experience something like that. So,
Yeah.
and that's only 1880, 1826. So we're talking in about 5 or 6 more years, it'll be 200 years old. So,
Ooh. That's true. I wonder if like Polaroid or anything, like the camera companies are gonna do something for that 200-year anniversary of pictures.
yeah, I didn't know that was that long ago. I always thought photography was more like the 1860s. I didn't realize it was before that. So that's interesting. As far as, and so this next one is this next one you have up here,
That
18,
is, go for it.
is that it says 1837. I'm just jumping ahead here. Go ahead and describe what you got there.
So, at a similar time, both I might butcher this as well, so I apologize. Both the daguerreotype
Here
and
you go.
the cyanotype
Here you go.
methods.
Hold on a second. I'll show you something that I like to do when I can't pronounce words. I don't know if this helps you at all. Because I have to do news and it gets really irritating when I have to read someone's name that I can't figure out how to pronounce. I use I use oh darn it. Oh, here we go. I use Google. So
Oh yeah,
hopefully this isn't too loud.
daguerreotype and the cyanotype.
There we go.
daguerreotype.
Daguerreotype and the cyanotype.
There you go. So
Perfect.
there you go. So you had it.
They were methods of photography, and they both became popular around the same time. Louis Jacques Mondet Daguerre was a scene painter for the theater. He used the camera obscura to trace images onto his canvases, and he developed an interest in shortening the exposure time needed to capture an image. Through experimentation, Daguerre shortened the exposure time from 8 hours to 30 minutes.
8 hours.
Yeah, that's a huge, huge feat. So I guess with Joseph's heliotype photograph, that took like 8 hours. And that's why it probably couldn't be people at that time because nobody could sit still for 8 hours. So yeah, he
Unless they were
became
dead.
the
Unless they were dead. So
yeah, he became the official of inventor in 1837. And then I showed a few daguerreotype pictures from I think the Met website.
so I go down.
Yeah, the first one is the Niagara Falls.
Okay, right there. Yeah, right there.
Yeah, that's and I'm not. These aren't in chronological order. These are just like
Oh, okay.
standout pictures from that I saw. Yeah,
Do you know what year the Niagara Falls one is from? Just
they're
curious.
all from around like the the
30s.
1820s, 1830s. Some of them are from the 1890s. There are a
Rel-
few different dates. I should have done the dates, but if you
I
go on
think
the Met website, you can find some. So
I'm pretty sure the Niagara Falls one is probably after the 1860s.
probably then.
Yeah, because there's people in the foreground, and through the 1860s, you still have to let it expose for about 3 seconds to get a good image.
Yeah.
Unless those people are standing perfectly still, which is possible, but the falls in the background would be moving as well. So I don't know. I'm just guessing. I don't know. I'm no expert, of course. So
And then that one's Frederick Douglass. And
Hmm.
then there's one next to it of
That's
creepy
that's
twins that I found.
creepy twins.
They are creepy.
Is that what you called them, or is that what they're actually called?
That's what I called them. They just had them as twins, but I'm gonna be honest, they're creepy.
They don't look real. To be honest, it looks like a drawing almost.
And then that one is of New York City
Okay.
in the rain, apparently.
Uh-huh.
And then that one is of someone named Tom Thumb. It looks like a baby, but he's dressed up like a man.
That's interesting.
So, yeah. Okay. And then moving on to the next process that was around the same time, the cyanotype process. It was invented a few years later in 1842 by Sir John Herschel. And the photos that those are the photos that all look blue because of the cyan pigment. Cyanotypes were mainly used to copy drafts and diagrams, and that's where the term blueprint is from. Some photographers became interested in the technique for aesthetics. Anna Atkins was a friend of Herschel's and used the technique to photograph algae, and she was the first female photographer.
Hmm.
And then that's her algae picture that she took.
Her name is Anna or Anna?
Maybe Anna, because it's English.
Okay, I'm not sure. Anna, I do a show on Wednesdays with Anna, and she spells it the exact same way, so I'm not sure anymore. A lot of people say they mispronounce it as Anna, so I'm just guessing. I'm just asking. I don't know. So
Yeah, either or, I guess. I mean, it just depends on the person because they're spelled the same. So
right. Now I've got a question about the blueprint, because blueprint, every time I saw a blueprint, they were actually blueprints of like a building schematic of some kind, and they were actually in blueprint.
yeah,
So,
diagrams of that's where this comes from, or that's where that comes from. They were mostly used for drafts and diagrams, but photographers got into it because of the aesthetic of it.
oh, okay. Okay,
Yeah.
so I see. Alrighty.
And then here's some cyanotype photographs where they all come out with a blue and white tint.
That's interesting. There was a period. How long did this period last? Was it a style that was liked? Did when you were reading through that, did it say? Because I would imagine that people would get used to seeing that blue tint, but maybe people would rather not see that and rather see something that's more like black and white. I know that for a while I've seen several pictures that were like had a brownish tint.
Yeah, since they were around the same time, the cyanotype and the daguerreotype, um, they were both pretty popular, but I'm pretty sure the daguerreotype beat out the cyanotype with popularity, and that's the kind of camera that was most innovated on, and I think that's the camera that like our modern photographs stem from.
Okay.
Maybe just because it wasn't so, blue. And the blue cyanotypes, yeah, the cyanotype photography, it was mainly used for like I said before, for the diagrams and stuff. So it was mainly used for um like plans of buildings and cars and stuff like that, I guess, or whatever they did it for. So that was where it kind of stayed,
You could probably, if if you saw these images in blue, you'd probably get used to it after a while, though. So you probably wouldn't even notice it was blue after a while. Like if you saw the brown ones, and then if you switched over to one that have this more brownish tint, then you'd notice there was a difference, or vice versa. So you probably
Yeah.
people probably didn't even notice it that much. I'm guessing,
But yeah, I'm just thinking since they were around at the same time, maybe they could directly compare them, and maybe people were like, I don't like the blue as much or something. I don't know.
They kind of remind me of the stamps. I used to collect stamps when I was a kid. Stamps of that same period would have this like almost like a hue to them that was kind of similar to that. So
It's cool.
maybe they're emulating the how photography was done at the time. So not all of them, but some of them. I used to like that they had those stamps had a real classic look that you don't see in stamps anymore. So
Yeah, stamps are really cool. I never really got into them majorly, just because they're expensive.
The this guy right up here, he kind of looks like, I don't know if you've seen that picture of Billy the Kid. Like he kind of looks like Billy the Kid at a glance. So I don't think that's him though. So
So, yeah, the daguerreotype technique spread around the world quickly and evolved over time. All aspects of the camera and the technique improved. Photography studios opened everywhere as people wanted their portraits taken. Many other techniques became popular, such as calotype and dry plate. And I didn't really research those in depth just because they were smaller techniques, and also there were a lot of words to read. So,
the
um,
was that one with the plate? I'm sorry, say that last one again.
it was dry plate photography. I don't really know much about that.
I believe that was one that was commonly, I saw a special. I believe it's the same one. I saw a special on PBS, or might have been PBS or Discovery, one of those channels. And there were people that would they used a plate to actually capture the image, and they would the image would be coming captured on the plate itself. It was like a clear, almost like a plate of glass, and the image would get captured on the glass, and then they would use that to actually print the picture up. I don't remember all the techniques. Because it was very interesting though. But the interesting thing about it was these people were actually taking pictures in the way that they were taken during that time period. They would actually dress up in the clothes and everything, and they would have like the horse-drawn carriages where they would develop the film, or it's not film, sorry, develop the images, I should say, through the plates. And it was actually quite interesting. They were trying to keep the historical aspect of it alive in a sense. They really looked like they knew what they were doing as far as keeping that technique, how it was, maintaining the way it was done back in the day. It was very. I thought they did a pretty nice job of doing that. It's always interesting to see somebody that actually maintains a classic way of how something is done, and they did it very well from what I could see. I mean, I'm no expert, but it looked pretty good. So,
Definitely, yeah.
and I still don't remember how they do it. I remember is they took the image, just similar, they had a camera, it would somehow capture it on the glass, and it would be on the glass, and that would be the plate, and then they would, I think they would use that to use another light or something, I'm not sure, to get it onto the paper, the film paper. And that's why you said it was dry, because I don't know if you've ever seen how film is developed in a wet environment, which is completely different.
Yeah.
It was complete. I don't remember seeing any liquids at all used in that. It was pretty interesting. But telling about how film is developed, when I was a kid, I used to go with my dad all the time to all these places, and he would develop film. I used to go with him into the dark rooms where he would develop the film. And in order to see what he was doing, he had to use a special kind of red light that wouldn't ruin the film, because obviously if you turn on light, it exposes the light, the film gets ruined. You would lose your picture. So he had a special red light that would allow him to see the images as he was developing them. And what I remember, and I don't know all the details because I never got into photography, but I'd watch him do it. He would take the film and he would imprint it onto the actual film, what was going to be the actual physical picture that you would hold in your hand, and he'd run it through this liquid back and forth, and you could gradually see the image gradually get more and more distinct. It was be a blank piece of paper, because he would expose it onto that, and he'd run it through the liquid, and eventually you would see that it would fade in real gradually. You could actually see the picture fade in onto the physical, whatever the material was that was used for the picture. So
Yeah.
I wish I could use the exact wording, but I'm not a photographer. I never got into it, but it was really interesting to watch him do that, and he'd do it really well. He'd stick it in there, and he used to work for two news groups. He worked for the Washington Star newspaper, which at the time, the Washington Star was you've heard of the Washington Post, I'm sure, right?
Yeah.
Okay, at one time there used to be two large newspapers, the Washington Star and the Washington Post, and they were both equal. The Washington Star went out of business in the early 80s, and they had been around for like 130 years. And so he worked for them, and he also worked for a company called UPI, which is United Press International. They also went through some sort of financial thing, and they kind of dissolved partially. They're still existing in some ways, but those are the two companies you'd go for. And I used to go with them to both the Star and to UPI, and I'd watch them develop the film. It was dark rooms were similar but different at the same time. So in order to get in, it was almost like going into a little fun house because there was a rotating door because you couldn't let light in, so you couldn't open the door. So what you'd have to do is you have to go to the cylindrical door, step in there, and rotate it around so that no light would come into the dark room. So you'd stand in the door and you'd just rotate the cylinder around so that you could go in or out of the dark room. It was pretty funny.
That's super cool.
I was a little kid, so it was really fun. It was fun just to walk through the dark room and rotate the cylinder door. So
Yeah, I've seen that in movies a few times, in cartoons, and then in my high school, the classes of photography I took, the photography classroom used to have a dark room, but unfortunately, like a few years before I got into the class, or like my year got into the class, they changed it into a computer lab, which is just sad.
oh really? Oh
It probably wasn't like the best dark room because it didn't have like any fancy door or anything, but it was like, it was functioning, or used to be anyway.
so do
So
you know did you actually I'm sorry if I missed this. Did you actually go in there while it was still functioning? I mean that's
no.
oh, okay. So you
So
got that would have been interesting to see how much it was like similar to what I experienced. But it was they always had those cylindrical doors. UPI had one, and the Star had one. As a little kid, it just felt like you're going through some sort of a fun house almost. So I just enjoyed it for that reason. And I also remember computers were very in their infancy at the time. We were talking like there was no such thing as Windows yet. Windows didn't exist yet. And I remember being set. One of the people that was there was trying to be really friendly. He walked me over to a computer, and there was a computer screen. I was able to use it just to type letters on the screen, and I was amused by that. I thought that was amusing, just to see myself type letters onto a screen. I couldn't do anything else, just type letters, but I was very amused by that for some reason. So
I used to do that, and I used to do the Paint MS program.
uh-huh.
But yeah, so photos from 1900 to 1945 began to look more like photographs of today. The Victorialist group called the Photo Secession became extremely influential in the early 1900s. They were based in New York City and were very experimental with the techniques they used. In this time, photographers wanted their photos to have qualities that separated them from paintings. Crisp lines and well-defined figures or objects became very popular. And then you can see the photo, the Curb Market.
Where is that?
A little further up.
Oh, that one.
It's
Okay,
the brown one. The Curb Market, New York, 1920. I think that's really cool. It looks almost like a painting, but it's grainy like a picture.
Okay,
which is cool. And you can see like the fur coats that all the ladies are wearing. It looks super awesome. And I think it's raining in that one too.
It looks like it, yeah. That is cool.
So,
and you're saying so basically how describe that again. So they were trying to separate pictures from paintings.
yeah. So I think before like photographs, I don't know for sure, but I think photographs were kind of originally made to make a painter's job easier, just so they could like take a portrait without having to pose for the portrait without having the client pose for a very long time, instead of like 5 hours for like posing for just a portrait, like a really well detailed portrait. They could maybe sit for 30 minutes and they could just get their picture taken. But I'm assuming that they probably wanted the pictures to look like paintings so that they could, say that they had their portrait like professionally done. Because I'm like, if you think about it and you try to put yourself in their shoes, I'm guessing like in that time when photography was new, maybe it wasn't well respected by everyone yet. Maybe it was more respected by the art world, but maybe not by like the general public, or like especially like traditionalist people. Maybe they were like, no, like it's only, if you're gonna get your portrait done, it should only be painting. So maybe this is all just guessing. I'm just, thinking this might be what happened. But maybe they were like trying to make the pictures look like paintings.
Mm.
But maybe in this movement they wanted to separate them and really emphasize the aspects that were photography like. But that's just a guess. I don't
Yeah,
know.
but I would say, based on what you're saying, I would say some of the photographers might do that, but I would venture that a lot of people just would also want to keep just photographs just for historical purposes or family purposes as well. So they wouldn't really care, I would think, as far as trying to make it look like a painting. You know what I'm
That's true.
because I'm sure there's a lot of people just want to have family photos. They don't want to, and they don't want to sit there for 5 hours, like you're saying, just to paint the family. Just take a picture of your kids, and you're good to go. So
Yeah, there were definitely probably people that didn't really care. Oh, sorry, care that much. Hiccup. Um, but maybe for like the more upper class or something, maybe they were more pretentious about it. I don't know.
mhm. No, the one of the things I wanted to talk about was it's not really what you're talking about, but it is talking about older photographs from when it comes to the American Civil War. That was the first time that the average person had actually got a chance to, unless you were a soldier fighting in the war. That was the first photographs were the first time you actually got a chance to see what a war was actually like during the American Civil War. Now, I think I'm right on this. I've heard this a few times, unless there's something out there where they did it with another war that I'm not familiar with. But I've heard it several times. It said the American Civil War was the first time that the public got a chance to see what war was like. Because what would happen is photographers like James Brady, and I forget the other one who did this, would go around taking pictures after the battle, each battle was done, and then they would put those on display in large cities. And so, and then people would come to see, and this is the first time they would actually see what war is actually like. So, like I said, unless you were a soldier fighting in a war, you had no idea what it was like before that. And I like to equate it to the Vietnam era, because during the Vietnam era, the what happened was it was kind of similar. It was the first time that the general public got a chance to see war on their TV sets. Before that, no one got a chance to see what war was like. It was always, through film. It was done during the battle and then saved for later photographs. So in a set, during the Vietnam War, they actually brought cameras on and video and actually did live feeds of what was going on during the actual war, during the battles. So you got a chance to see it on TV live. So it was similar to how the first time during the American Civil War, the public got a chance to see what war is like through photographs, and then 100 years later, it was through their TV sets, through video. So it was like the next, kind of like the next step up in that regard. I'm extremely anti-war. I'm usually very pro peace and everything. I used to wear a peace symbol on my shirt and everything. So, but I just find the techno aspect of it pretty interesting. So
Yeah, for sure. I think I remember learning about that in one of my classes. I had like an extra space in high school. Like I had a few extra empty slots for classes because I got everything done. And I remember I took one class that was it was American history from like 1940 or 50 something to present, and we definitely learned about that, how like the Vietnam War was like a super, obviously a super controversial thing, and
right.
the whole like TV set, seeing it for the first time, especially in action, because with photographs you couldn't see movement unless they were sequential photographs, but even then it obviously wasn't the same as like film. So yeah.
And the one thing I noticed when you wouldn't remember this, I'm sure, but the first Persian Gulf War from in 1990, I think it was, they did not allow cameras in the battlefield at all, and they have not done it ever since either. And I think it was because the military said, well, we got such a negative the military was deemed so negatively during the Vietnam War. The military decided from that point forward they would never allow cameras in ever again, and they haven't. So I found that quite interesting. I noticed that right away when I was very young at that time, but I noticed that there were no videos, of the war. That was that's one where they went in and where Iraq invaded Kuwait, and we sent American troops in. No cameras were allowed, and the same thing when it came to the after 2001, when we went to Afghanistan and Iraq. We went back to Iraq. It's the same thing. No, you will notice there's no it wasn't emphasized at all. In fact, they kept the cameras out on a regular basis, which is
Yeah,
kind of
very
disturbing.
interesting, slightly suspicious.
Yeah, I find it disturbing because they're trying to hide things, and I don't like that. So
Yes, very much so.
and but yeah, that's it's like the military. I hate to say this, learned from the past, but they learned to be more devious, is what they learned to be. So
Yeah, I agree. I don't want to, yeah, but yeah. Anyway, with general increase in knowledge of national and even global news, documentary photography also became popular for the First World War onward. So yeah, this is kind of what we were talking about. The Depression was heavily photographed when the federal government began a documentary project headed by the Farm Security Administration. Also, I'm skipping over a lot of major stuff just because there was so much in it, and these were kind of like the major points that really stood out to me personally. So I'm sorry if you really love photography and I missed something important to you. You can always comment it below, and then we can all learn something. Anyway, a photo taken by Dorothy Lange became an icon of the Depression. So I'm sure most people have seen that photograph of the woman. It was, I think, I've seen it a lot in school.
really,
And we learned about it and everything. And it was this woman with her kids who was, I think, the wife of a pea farmer or something in California. And it really captured the anxiety of the Depression, and it became an icon for it. And it's a very crisp picture. So.
it is. Yes, I honestly I don't remember seeing that picture before. That's interesting.
Oh, interesting. It was like I feel like I learned about it multiple times in school. It was one of those things that they really emphasized.
Okay, that's interesting. She's that doesn't say what her name is. Just a migrant mother. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It didn't include her name on the Britannica website.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Let's see. This is pictures of you, right? Yes.
Yeah. Some of my stuff. So, yeah. The first practical color photography process was invented around 1907 by Auguste and Louis Lumiere. It was called the autochrome process. It was a color transparency and could only be viewed by reflected light, so there was room for improvement. Okay, and then this was like a major part of color photography, so I just direct quoted it from Britannica. In 1935, Leopold Godowsky Jr. and Leopold Manes, two American musicians working with the Kodak Research Laboratories, initiated the modern era of color photography with their invention of Kodachrome film. With this reversal slide film, color transparencies could be obtained that were suitable both for projection and for reproduction. Since then, photography has continued to improve and evolve immensely. In the past 20 years, digital photography has completely changed and how the average person documents their life. Okay, yeah. I remember when my phone didn't even have a front camera. So, here are some photos of mine or my mom's. I think the first one up there of the woods is my mom's. She really loves to take pictures, and so that's one from the 80s, I think, and she was hiking in Massachusetts in that one. So, and that was the fall.
Okay.
And then you can see this one is hiking in around 2003 in Big Sur. These are all from like film cameras.
Oh, okay. Oh, these are film. Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah.
And then
the
other one's more recent.
Yeah, I don't know why it's showing up kind of weird on yours. It should be flipped around and also not squished like that.
Oh.
But that's one I took in 2017.
It's weird.
Or 2018.
I'm using an older version of Microsoft Word. I don't know if that affects it or not. So
maybe. Yeah, maybe. This one in mine is like, it's a landscape photo, and that looks like it took the landscape, scrunched it up and made it vertical.
Let me see. 1 second here. Let me see if I can if I put it onto paint, maybe it looks any better. No, it looks about the same.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's of the little white thing is my dog, my old dog. And we were hiking in that one. So I don't know if you can kind of see like minor differences. Maybe you have like a better photographer's eye. Yeah, it's not that scrunched up in my thing, but I think the computer just like scrunched it up. But I feel like in the most recent one, I think they're each like 20 years apart. So that's interesting. But this most recent one, I think I got it developed at CVS. It was kind of crappy. They really saturated it, which I don't mind, but it's very, very saturated and it looks a bit overexposed. Oh yeah, that's a bit more.
Okay, a little bit more of what it should look like is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Still not good though. So still not perfect, I should say, but good, closer to what it should look like, I should say. So
yeah.
Okay, that's pretty cool. The I want to talk about the black and white though. When I was a kid, we had a black and white TV, and I hated black and white. So every time I see black and white photos, I respect them, but I prefer color over black and white. So, and I don't disrespect black and white photos because I know that they usually didn't have color at the time. But my dad, for some reason, I told you he's a professional photographer. He'll still take pictures in black and white because he says he likes the contrast that it gives versus color photos. And I look at him and go, it just for me, it's like, it doesn't look real. For me, black and white doesn't look real. And so I get kind of frustrated when I look at it. I was like, why can't you just take it in color, like what it really looks like? I don't say it to his face, but he knows I don't like black and white. He knows I like color. So, and the to me, it's like you're losing something when you don't show the color because you're not seeing what's actually there. You're taking away something. But he likes it, so most of his pictures are in black and white for that reason. So can't do anything about it.
That's interesting. I never thought of it like that because I feel like I see black and white photography. I don't like it as much, but I do. I understand why you would use it, especially for like artistic photographs. Like if you want to manipulate a photograph and, manipulate your subject in a way that like the black and white would really enhance the photo and it just like it would make, I don't know, the image in, you as the photographer, the image in your mind perfect. I guess that, yeah, I can see like the artisticness of it. And so I don't mind personally, but I do like color better. I understand where you're coming from, where it's like the color really, for me as well, it really makes the picture.
No, I will say this: when my dad was taking pictures for like the Washington Star and UPI, he would purposely take black and white because back then those newspapers anyway only printed pictures in black and white, so it didn't really matter. So maybe that's one of the reasons why I got so addicted to it, was because he's always taking black and white all the time. So I don't know.
Maybe.
But there's a picture, I'd have to dig it up. I don't know where it's at, but it was taken around the 1940s of Interstate 395 in Shirlington, which is in Arlington County, Virginia. And it was taken in color. And I was so impressed by it because it's like, it looks to me, I kept on saying, wow, this is so nice to have a picture that looks real. I see a black and white photo from that era, it doesn't look real to me because it's like, it's black and white because I'm missing something here. And it was, I was so fascinated by this picture because it was like some of the buildings that were in the picture are still here today. So you can actually see where those pictures, where the photographs are actually taken from, which is really cool. But the other thing I want to say about black and white, which is kind of off topic, but when I was a kid, we had a black and white TV. And I couldn't stand it because I go to like the preschool I go to, I think we had a color TV. And so I was so happy when we finally got a color TV one day, but I was disappointed to find out that not all TV shows were actually in color, that there were still a lot that were in black and white.
Yeah, I think I watched I Love Lucy when I think it would air before middle school, when before school would start in middle school for me. So I would watch it and that was in black and white. I know that they've colorized it, but
Oh,
the one that they aired was in black and white. So yeah.
When it comes to colorization, I'm actually against that 100%. I don't think you should ever colorize something.
Yeah, I think it looks dumb.
It's dumb.
Sometimes it's done well, but
Well,
you know.
the reason I think it shouldn't be is if it's going to be done, it has to be done by the people who actually produced the video in the first place, because they would know. Because when you add color to it, it changes the tone, it changes everything about it. It
Yeah.
changes, and you could create a different mood as well. And
Yeah.
if somebody who had nothing to do with the production decides, well, I'm just going to add color to it, you're going to change everything about the feeling of what you're seeing there, and you had nothing to do with the original production in the first place. So I don't. That's one of the. I'm 100% against colorization of anything, unless, like I said, unless it's by the actual people who were did. But most of them are dead right now, so we're never going to see it. So
Yeah, definitely. I definitely see where you're coming from. I never thought about it like that, but yeah, I definitely like it would change the entire mood of it, especially like if someone colorized like those noir films where
yeah.
they were in black and white and they were specifically very dramatic, very like almost, grungy almost.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So,
one of the things, I mean, you're probably not a Three Stooges fan, but sometimes I like the Three Stooges. So they made what they called shorts, were about 20 minutes long each. And I've seen colorized versions. As soon as I see them, I just turn them off immediately, because you can't do that. They're meant to be in black and white. So
yeah. Yeah. Black and white has its place for sure. But yeah, I don't think she has any black and white. My mom has any black and white pictures that she took. But and I don't know if the other one, the one before this one, was taken by my mom or my dad. I know they were both with me, but the one before this one is of me when I was like
the other one.
3.
Yeah, let me bring it up here. Sorry.
Yeah, when I was like 3, we were at Big Sur, the redwood forest. And I don't think the camera picked up the red woods, but and not all the redwood trees look as red as like the super famous pictures of them.
Oh, I've never been there. That's interesting.
But the trees are really big, and I'm just that little small blue shirt thing.
Yeah, I didn't realize that you were that young. So that's actually, I thought you were the age you are now when I saw that. So I didn't realize how small you actually were. So.
Yeah, probably like 2 or 3 feet tall. So, not the best comparison for how big the redwoods are, but still.
Yeah. Now these, is this the one where there's like a tree that's so big where they actually cut through it so you could drive your car through the trunk?
Maybe. I don't think I've ever been in there, but I know we went camping in the redwoods for Halloween one year, which was super fun with my like kindergarten best friend. And there was like there's some of them have like, I guess from animals, some of them have hollows in the trunk. So just naturally occurring, just like hollow areas. And so what they did was they added a little door and they called it Pooh's Corner from Winnie the Pooh. And that was super fun for little like 6-year-old me to see.
I guess they were safe enough, I guess. I assume. I assume they were safe enough for little kids to go inside of.
Yeah. There were spiders and stuff, but you just gotta not, touch the spiders, and then you're good to go.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Yeah, and then I guess the difference between these pictures is the saturation. Obviously, I think the color on this one looks a little more yellow, and of course, other things are going to affect it, like the kind of camera. I think they were both Fujifilm, maybe. I think, and then like where they were developed would affect it. But yeah. I feel like it's interesting because each picture that I have up is 20 years apart. So you can see like some small differences. I feel like the one on the left, the earlier one is more crisp. I feel like it's a better quality.
That's the film one? That's film, right?
They're both film, yeah.
Okay, film. Okay, sorry. Talking about, I'm going to jump back to black and white for a second. My dad was convinced, and he never had anything to back this up, that somehow that you could actually extract color from an original black and white photo and actually get the original color to come in. I don't know if that's true or not. It doesn't sound like it's possible, but I remember seeing a special where they did something that was like that or similar to that. Did you hear about anything like that?
I have not heard of anything like that.
I remember I just saw this special probably about 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, and it's like Discovery Channel or something, where I don't know if they were actually doing what he said, where they were somehow able to extract and get the actual color to come back in. I don't see how that's possible, but anyway, it'd be interesting if they could do something like that, just to capture that feel.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
And there was those earlier techniques you were talking about. That was different. That was completely different than how they did it now. They do it nowadays, isn't it?
Yeah, a lot of different like methods have been created, kind of like a tree, sort of like how I would explain it. I guess the daguerreotype is like one of the big branches, and then there were smaller twigs coming off of different methods that became popular and then kind of faded out. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, to give a basic description, yes, it does make sense. But it gives me a general idea of what I'm, to formulate or picture in my head what you're talking about, I guess, is the best way to
Yeah, because some things are like, some methods were created around the same time in different parts of the world, and sometimes they were popular for longer than others, but like the main one for a while was daguerreotype. I just feel like I'm saying that wrong every time, but yeah, I think the main one was that for a while.
Okay.
So
Well,
yeah,
I want to show you a picture before we wrap everything up. This is
Go for
something
it.
I was thinking about before we going live. This is a picture of Georgetown, and so what we're looking at here in the foreground, this is Arlington, Virginia, which is called Roslyn. This is the key bridge that connects Roslyn to Georgetown, and this is right here. This is downtown. This is Georgetown. This is, if you're familiar, there's a place called the Car Barn. This is a little building called the Car Barn that's off of K Street.
very cool. I do know that I've been on King Street a few times.
If you've ever seen the movie The Exorcist, where there's which was about demon possession, there's a staircase. This is the is right here. This is the staircase where they.
Ooh,
You ever seen
spooky.
that movie where the person falls down? But the interesting thing about this image is that the Key Bridge had just recently been opened to the public. So this other bridge that's over here was the one that it replaced. It was called the Aqueduct Bridge, and so they were in the process. This one was eventually mostly torn down. If you go to Georgetown, you can still see some of the supports that are still in the water that they never fully took down. They're still there today. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But it's really cool to see the new bridge, which I believe this was around the 1930s. I don't remember the exact year. And to see the old bridge still in place, but obviously not being used anymore. So,
Right. That's
and
super cool.
and most of the buildings that are in Georgetown are still there. So Georgetown doesn't change. So these buildings are like well over 100 years old today. Most of the buildings in Roslyn are gone. So Roslyn's the exact opposite. Roslyn has even people in Arlington have gotten so they hate old buildings so much that they even voted to destroy some of the businesses that were still in Roslyn about 10 years ago because the buildings were so old they didn't want them around anymore. So
Oh, jeez.
really, really pathetic.
That's kind of funny. That's so interesting how just like literally over a river, people are so different.
Yeah, yeah. And this part of the bridge right here is not the same anymore. Where this little circle, there's a circle here, but it's completely different because what they did is they built George Washington Parkway that runs along the Potomac River in Virginia. So when they built the parkway, this part of the bridge had to be completely redone. So everything here is different. But this part of the bridge is still basically the same from here across. So
Right. Yeah, I vaguely remember just because I've only been like a few times, maybe like 10 times I've been to Georgetown, so not like super well versed. And it was like a few years ago, so
when I went to Georgetown, I had just made it in to the age limit where to get alcohol you have to be 21 years old pretty much everywhere in the country now. I had just made it by like a month or so. I was actually legally able to buy alcohol at the age of 18 because they had just started enforcing the law in DC at that time. So I could cross over into DC and get alcohol all I want. Not that I drink, I really don't. But when you're 18 years old, it's kind of cool. Like, oh, I can do something that no one else can do because they just started changing the law to be 21. So I was like grandfathered in, so to speak. So
Right.
um,
That's cool.
was something else. I think everything else. This is Wisconsin Avenue right here, which is like one of the main drags in Georgetown, and then this is Georgetown University in the background right up here. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then I think it's one of the fields in the back. And nothing, like I said, nothing in Georgetown changes. It really doesn't. So
Yeah, I remember walking. I was walking somewhere with my dad, and we were going up the street. I think it was near the university, and it was the frat houses and the sorority houses.
mhm.
I don't know what street that is, but they all they had the door decorations like the frats and sororities, and they had like flyers out in front of their on their mailboxes or something. I don't know. So yeah, that they were like old buildings, so that would be cool.
Yeah, I've only been on the university a couple of times. When I was going to school, I would make deliveries, and I had to make deliveries on the campus. Very interesting looking. So,
Yeah.
um, the car barn. Just to give you an idea, I don't know if you know what the car barn. This is this building right here, which is still standing today. They call it the car barn because the trolley cars would come in, and there was actually trolley cars that ran across the bridge, actually across the old aqueduct bridge and into Arlington, and the trolley cars would go through DC. So when the trolley cars were done for the night, they would park them inside this building. That's why they call it the car barn.
Oh,
So,
that's cool.
and if you go up there, you can still see the trolley tracks going into the front of the building. They don't, like I said, they don't change anything in DC. It's all still there. It's pretty cool.
Because it's so historical, I guess, because it's always been a super political hub. So
hmm I think it's so cool that they preserved everything. I always get angry at Arlington because they don't. They do the exact opposite. So they don't care at all. So. Anyway, I wanted to show you that this photograph. If you look, this photograph is probably about um, what I'm going around. It's actually on a wall. It's mounted on a wall, and it's actually a photograph that's mounted on the wall. And this photograph right here is probably about, I'd say about 4 to 5 feet in height. It's a very large photograph, and it was inside one of the office buildings in Roslyn. And I think my sister went up one day and just took a picture of it. I think this is where she got it from, and because we were wondering how do we get a picture of this, we want to get a copy of it. And she said, "Well, I'll just take a picture of it." So that's what she did. So
that's
picture,
cool.
picture of a picture.
I
So
never would have guessed. I thought it was just like a small picture on a table or something.
yeah, I'm not sure if she has a better copy. The full size image is really detailed too. I mean, it's for something that's so big. It's not it doesn't get grainy or anything. It's really nice. So
That's cool.
anyway, I wanted to share that with you so you could see what it looked like.
Definitely. Thank you.
So, alrighty. Well, we're gonna go back to our question for today. See what we got. Looks like we got some nice votes. Nice number of votes here. A few responses.
Okay.
There we go. And my mouse is getting stuck. There we go. Okay, is photography a hobby of yours? A whopping 69% with yes, 25% with no, and only 2% with yes, but with only with film, and 2% with digital, and 3% that they're a professional photographer. With I don't know if I said this, 180 votes so far. That's pretty good for the number of votes. So
Yeah, that's super cool. Do you want to save the responses for next time or now?
it's up to you. Well, I'll let you decide. If you want to wait till next time, that's fine.
I think we should wait till next time so they can be a surprise. Thank you
Okay.
for everyone who's responded so far.
Yeah, and we'll come back to that and we'll see it next time. All right. So, did you have anything else you wanted to say?
Nope. I think
did you
that's
wanna-
all. Other
you
than
wanna-
thank you for listening, of course.
Did you want to pick up this discussion next week? Did you want to let our viewers know that maybe we're going to do this again, or what did you have in mind for next week other than that?
Well, maybe I'll get a few more pictures together from my mom's collection if we go through more of them.
Okay.
And then if you want, you can get some more, and then maybe we can talk about more pictures.
Okay, That's cool. And then we could also do other things as well, but just
Yeah.
to give our viewers an idea of what we might talk about. So cool. Alrighty. Well, thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you. Bye bye.